Welcome to Unity Fort Worth. Today is Saturday, October 17th, 2020, and this is Pray-In. Our daily word today is pray for others. If you would like to read along, know that you can find our daily word at dailyword.org. There's a free version for each day. There's also other options there. You might be interested in being able to look back and see past daily words as well as future daily words. But today it is pray for others. I release my loved ones to their highest good. I release my loved ones to their highest good. Repeat that with me, please. I released my loved ones to their highest good. If I wonder how to help those I care about, I remember the power of prayer, which helps me look beyond the challenges they may be facing or the circumstances that may be troubling their hearts. As I pray, I place them in the care and keeping of God, the one power and presence that is their divine identity. Prayer keeps me in a centered, peaceful state where I can know the truth of the dear ones in my life. As I commune with Spirit in prayer, worries about worldly circumstances fall away as I affirm health, prosperity, and peace. I am at peace as I envision the highest and best unfolding for their lives. I am grateful to pray and entrust those I care about to God's perfect guidance. Our verse today comes from James 5:16. Pray for one another so that you may be healed. The prayer of the righteous is powerful and effective. I release my loved ones to their highest good. Together, I released my loved ones to their highest good. This for me, as I'm looking at this today, reminds me of all the times in my life that I've had the opportunity to pray for people. Sometimes because they asked for it, and sometimes just because I thought they needed it. And looking back on those, I can think about the challenges that I experienced and the way in which I prayed for them, about them, with them. And it reminds me, I used to have a relative that she could trash talk everybody in family with depth. She had no problem trash talking everybody, but she had this great way at the end of whatever she was saying that was quite negative, quite derogatory, of saying, bless their heart, as if all the negativity is now okay just because she added in the bless their heart. And I think about the old way I prayed prior to my understanding in unity, that in some ways I was saying, bless their heart. For I had labeled whatever that I was seeing as the issue or challenge, or whatever they were feeling they were struggling with in their life, as this incredible negative. And that if I talked about that limited, and then in some way at the end of it just said, well, bless their heart, for in some ways being this poor limited being, that all would be okay. So I was sincere in what I wanted for them. I wanted them to be free of what they were struggling with. But it was the polar opposite of unity affirmative prayer. Because affirmative prayer leads us into awakening of our spiritual selves. So rather than begging God, this method involves recognizing our source as God mind and asserting positive beliefs about a desired outcome. Affirmative prayer is really the method that we see attributed and credited to Jesus in the book of Mark, where it says, so I tell you, whatever I ask for in prayer, So I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it is yours. So whatever you ask for in prayer, whatever this holding that you're taking place is what you're believing. That when I'm stating it and claiming it and holding for you, whatever I believe in that, that's the affirmation, that's the affirming that I'm doing. Thus, that's the request, and that is what is being delivered. More than a request, it's actually what I'm claiming because I'm making the statement of it. It's what I'm believing about you. It is my claim to who you are and what you are. So we've got to keep that in mind when I'm beseeching and asking based on your limitation. Thus, I am affirming on your limitation versus that other way of coming about it that's affirming and holding that you are not this limitation. You are this spiritual being awakening. And I think even in our verse today, it expands on it because our verse says here that pray for one another that you may be healed. The prayer of the righteous is powerful and effective. So pray for one another that you may be healed. The prayer of the righteous is powerful and effective. So righteousness, or our righteous, is right relation. So it's recognizing our relationship. God is principle, God is source, God is law. And that we, in and as principle, are expressing principle. That there's not two things happening here. There's not an and or, it's one and the same. And that in recognizing that God, principle, law, divine nature is love, and that you and I are loving, for we are love, and that God is power, and you and I are powerful, for we are power. God is whole, you and I are wholeness, for we are whole. It's not an either or. It's the living and recognizing that that's the claim, the expectation, the affirmation that I'm holding and understanding as the truth of who I am. Not a hopeful wish that just maybe I'll am this, because in this case, affirmative prayer is recognizing what the truth is here, what is taking place that is real and whole, versus what is taking place that's not the expression of that truth. And what I find interesting in life is that so often we feel guilty about what's taking place. In other words, we don't think we quite prayed hard enough, good enough, did it right, because somehow we don't have life looking exactly like we want life to look, because it isn't perfect yet. And for me, I love baseball, and that takes me to this image that we're in this wonderful baseball park, and we've got the grass and the dirt on the mound and all the seats and the signs and the images and all of it. And boy, we have jumped the outfield wall and we are running down the street, oblivious that there is even a ball game present. And I think that's life, that we've forgotten that ultimately we can't escape from the ball game. We are the ball game. All that we recognize and see is the ball game, and that we're connected not just to it in a linear fashion that, oh, I'm connected to that which is over there. I am connected to it because it is the one divine same source expressing here, and that it is I in expression, and that is we as this family of humanity in this ball game, and that we are the ball game. I mean, that analogy may not work for you, but to me, it gives me this great image that I think there's lots of things going on, but there's really one thing going on, and that sometimes I have simply forgotten. I am running down the road and I've forgotten that there's a ball game taking place, and that Our affirmative prayer is helping us return to the silence, return to this knowing our divine nature. Doesn't matter that we forgot. We don't need to feel guilty that we forgot. It is ultimately, it is ultimately part of life that we remember and that we forget, and that we remember and that we forget. And prayer is that remembrance. And the more it brings us to not just remembering, but living as our divine self, then the more we are that life, we are that ball game, and that everything that's taking place for us is unfolding then in recognition as that ball game, thus as divine nature, as God. The beauty that is that green grass and the smell of it that I love so much is no different than the fact of me striking out at home base or sliding in and being called out. Those are part of the perception that somehow this is separate from me, that it's limited, when in essence, you and I are never limited. We are the highest good in expression, and that our remembrance in prayer is holding that highest good for us. And go back to our verse. It says, pray for one another that you may be healed. I think it's interesting that it doesn't say pray for one another so that they may be healed. It says pray for another that you may be healed. It's the remembrance for myself, because in that I'm remembering my highest good. And from that space, then I can release my loved ones to be and live their highest good. So that's our affirmative prayer, praying for others. Our verse or our affirmation today was, I release my loved ones to their highest good. I release my loved ones to their highest good. I invite us as we lead into prayer here that we know that and recognize that doesn't say I beg for their limitations to go away, but I released my loved ones to their highest good. So as you join me in prayer, whether you close your eyes, keep them open, know that here in this space, as I breathe and release and relax, I settle in to my highest good. I am divine expression, principle, law, God, alive here, living here, being here, that I am not separate from this. I am this one thing. I am the ballpark, all that is the essence that is that. I am that, and more than I can perceive, more than I'm conscious of, I am that. And in my expression and taking my prayer request today, whatever that may be, whether it's for healing, health, wholeness, whether I'm taking the request of others into this experience, I'm seeing and knowing the highest good, that no matter where we go, what we perceive, whether we're running down the road of life, forgetful of who and what we are, that we're returning to that, because it's the only place we can return to, because it is the truth and power of who we are. We are God in action. We are the living divine nature here, now, expressing our highest good and living and being our highest good, and that all in our life is unfolding in that highest good. No limitation exists here, because there is only one thing here, that highest good. And we, you, and I are that. And in knowing that, I take that into my life, into my world, and I'm thankful that I have the opportunity to hold the highest good for myself and others, that I recognize that my life is surrounded with community and family and friends, and I am grateful that they continually give me the opportunity to remember who I am. And in my remembrance, not only do they help me bless myself, but I bless them. For we are that highest good, and we know it and celebrate it and are thankful for it. And with that, we say, and so it is. Amen. If you get the opportunity, I invite you to go to unityfortworth.org/calendar. And in that, know that you're going to find all kinds of things happening at Unity Fort Worth. So whether it's classes and events, whether it's what's happening Sunday for our Sunday service, whether it's town hall meetings, whatever there might be there for you, it's a great opportunity to go and check out those things, because you never know what you might find that will serve you, and maybe serve you in helping you and I remember who we are. So thank you for being here. See you soon.